All right, so in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can also use a reporting tool to review your campaign analytics and make smart decisions to optimize your campaigns. So here is the Ads Manager dashboard view. This is a great place to review your campaign data if you're coming in for a quick look-see and you kind of want to know what's going on. For more context, this is an old lead gen campaign that I ran. I do run a lot of ads for my clients, but it's all confidential data, so I can't show you that. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just showing you some of my data. So you got the campaign level data, ad sets, and ads, right? If you haven't watched the video on how to review the dashboard analytics, you can do that. Next, I'm going to show you how to use the reporting tool. So click on reports, and then you're going to do create new report. There's also a bunch of templates that you can use if you prefer to do that, but I want to show you how to use this yourself so you can get exactly what you need when you need it and not have to worry about not being able to do that. So one, always make sure that your date range is what you want to look at, right? So if I'm looking at data and I just started my campaign and I have 1 week, I might do past 7 days. You'll always want to do the day before so you have 1 full day of clean data. If you've been running it for a month, right, you could look at that entire month. Now, if you want to make data-driven optimizations and you want to base it off more so what's going on the last 2 weeks, then you would do last 14 days, or you could do past 7 days, right? Stuff changes all the time, so you want to look at your data overall for the month, past 14 days, past 7 days, what's going on. All right, so now that we're here, you can also name your report. So I can say starter guide campaign reporting. And then usually I write like the time frame or last 7 days. This is not actually last 7 days, but you get the gist. So the first thing you want to do is on the left, this is going to pop up, and this is essentially a pivot table, and you can select metrics and unselect and kind of create the chart that you want. So for example, if I'm looking at my campaign and we're going to look at whether it's sales or leads data, you can look at the campaign level and then any column that you don't deem necessary. For now, we can just take it out, right? So we want to look at our main metrics. So we'll do impression, reach, results, which in this case was leads, or if you're running a sales campaign, this is going to be purchases right here. If you're running, this is another good thing to know, it should total at the bottom, but when it's multiple conversions, it won't. So if all your campaigns are sales campaigns with the purchase objective, then you won't have this issue. The result rate, we want to do cost per result, amount. And I do have a sheeter for all the main metric KPIs that you want to look at: outbound clicks, outbound click-through rate, purchases. So these are all duplicates. Website purchase is the same. If I had if I was selling something on my online store, right, and I was receiving purchases, the volume would be here. Then the amount that I made, my sales number would be here. Website purchase conversion value. Some of it is because of the API. It pulls in different fields that ultimately are the same, but because it works with all these different data third-party tools, it just has a lot of fields. In case you're wondering why there's stuff that is technically the same. And let me navigate here really quick and just show you. So we have impressions, results, result rate, which I have in my report. Purchases, if you're running a sales campaign. Another one that's good to add is add to carts, right? I kind of like to see the drop-off rate, like how many people that add to cart are actually purchasing, get that baseline number, and then work on improving that baseline, which would be something which would be on your website, right? So if I want to improve my conversion rate from people adding to cart, then maybe I make my product page look better. I add better description, better photos, leads. If you're running a lead campaign, your cost per result, which is also the same metric as cost per purchase or cost per lead in the reporting tool. You want to look at your amount spent, of course, your purchase conversion value, aka your sales number, your return on advertising spend. So, are we at our target 2 to 1? Outbound clicks. This is helpful when I'm looking at the ad level reporting, right? And I want to see what ads are best performing. I like to use outbound clicks because those are actually people clicking on your ad and going to your actual landing page. There's a lot of stuff that people can do on an ad, right? They can engage with it, comment, react, share, all that stuff. And there's different even links that they might go to that doesn't necessarily take them out of Facebook, which also is a good measure, if you want to know, okay, is my ad engaging? However, we ultimately want sales and leads. So we want people to exit the site and fill out our form or add to cart and purchase. And then also related to that, you'll put the outbound click-through rate. So that's just a percentage of people clicking on your ad. Cost per impressions, which is the average amount per 1,000 impressions. So you'll see that different audiences, typically you look at this at the audience level when you want to gauge, okay, how much is this audience? Is it too expensive? Is it too narrow? And you can use that metric to look at that. And then the lead form completion rate, the percentage of open forms that were submitted if you're using an instant form, for example, or you can also calculate that yourself by looking at the unique outbound clicks, so users that are getting to the form, and then how many out of those are actually becoming leads. So with that being said, let's go back to our reporting analytics tool. And so there is the breakdown, right? You can think of it as the dimensions, and then there's the metrics that go with it. Sometimes some dimensions don't go with metrics. So this is where you can have fun and play around with it. Like, let's say I want to see campaign, I want to see my ad sets, and I want to see my ad name. I could look at all that and then have the data, and you can X out of here and then see your data here as well. Now it's not as clean, so I like to look at it by level. So if I want to look at my ad set, I usually click off campaign and ad, and then I just look at the ad sets. Or if I want to look at the ads themselves, I just do a report with ads only. Sometimes things glitch, so don't worry if that happens. You can always come back to it. So we can see here, let's say I wanted to also add, like I said, like add to cart, which wasn't there. You just put it in the little search. And then you can also reorder stuff. So I like to think of this as my funnel, right? So from the moment someone sees my ad, well, I put the most important data at the front. So I recommend you put the most important metrics at the front. And then also your funnel. So add to cart, purchases, and then let's see if there's anything else. So that looks good. And we could even do cost per 1,000 impressions to see. Okay, so now let me review first at the campaign level, then we'll do ad set, and then we'll do ad, okay? So the way I want you to do this is look at it from the campaign level, determine, okay, which campaign is my best performing. I can determine that the campaign that was going to my landing page is best performing. You can also sort if you want to make things easier for yourself. I can see my cost per result, amount spent, outbound clicks, and if this was a sales campaign and it was tied to my online store, right, I would see add to cart purchases, and then I return on ad spend, etc. So this looks good. So now I want to know, based off of this, well, first of all, I could say, okay, you know what? I don't want to spend any more money with the Instant 4 campaign. It's not generating enough leads or sales, so I'll turn that off. Next, I want to determine how my audiences are doing. So that I would do by clicking ad set, and then you can see different audiences. These were the same audiences because in this example, again, I was testing a landing page, but you could have, let's say, entrepreneurs, and a different audience here, let's say Gen Z, makeup enthusiasts, and then, you know, mothers in their 50s as two different audiences. This is a retargeting audience as well, which did not do well. So I turned that off right away. It was very, very expensive because it was too tiny. So just be warned if you run retargeting and it's too small of an audience. That's why I don't recommend it when you're starting out, because you're really building out your brand anyways, and retargeting is not like it used to be. You end up retargeting your audience anyways with your regular prospecting campaigns. Anyways, I digress. So my audience, I can see, okay, this audience again, entrepreneurs, this one is the best. Look at all the metrics down the line and compare them. Okay, I can see, okay, my cost per impressions was also way lower in this audience. And look at my cost impression for retargeting. It was so expensive. Now I want to look at my ads. So I want to get a better idea, right? Because this is where you're going to make the most optimizations, most likely in terms of improving your ads. So this is also when I was telling you earlier about the naming conventions. This is why you want to have everything named well. So when you're looking at report, you don't have to click on this link to see what ad it is. You already kind of know. So here, again, I like to sort by volume of results. So I can look at my purchases or leads. I can see that starter guide version 1. So that was version 1 was best performing. In this case, I tested 2 different creatives. So it was the same ad copy. Usually I also put AC1, ad copy 1, but version 1 of the graphic, version 2 of the graphic. And I used the download CTA. So that's a clear winner. And then based on this information, I can say, you know what, I'm turning these 2 off because obviously they have a very high cost per result. They have a low conversion rate, result rate, and I don't want to waste my money even though I didn't spend that much here. I'd rather leave it to these 2. And then if possible, even I can try to create a different version of my best performing. That could be having a different CTA button. Maybe I'll try get offer, or I could also try a different ad copy. Based on identifying that, hey, this is my best performing ad, right? So this is how we make data-driven decisions. And again, these are additional metrics that can be helpful, but they're not key performance indicators in the sense that just because you have a really high click-through rate that doesn't mean that it's necessarily the winner. The winner ad is going to be the one that has the highest volume of purchases or sales and / or the highest conversion rate and a good return on advertising spend. So sometimes you'll see that like Meta does this a lot, where if you're spending a lot more money, sometimes as it scales, the cost per result will increase slightly. So even if your cost per result, let's say, is like 20 cents higher, but your volume of purchases is way higher, that's still the winner. So you kind of sometimes have to look at these multiple metrics, right, together to really assess, okay, well, which one is better. In this case, it's very easy to tell, but maybe you have ads that are closer in performance, which maybe also may mean that they're all relatively doing well. Now, other things that you can look at in this reporting tool is regions, for example. So what regions are highest? Am I showing the most impressions in? And you can see in this one, Georgia, surprisingly New York, which makes sense. I'm based here. So you can get a sense of your best performing regions. Also, sometimes this will, if there's no results here, or I should say sometimes it's picky about what it shows or doesn't show. And it doesn't mean that your stuff isn't working, by the way. This is just the reporting AI. But this has 60 completed, and it doesn't tell me by state, which is okay, because for the leads it does. So I can see here that for Georgia, for example, I had the highest number of results or sales. And again, synonymous lead, sales, whatever your objective is for the campaign. Now this might be beneficial, right? If there is a state that maybe like the shipping is way lower and you want to penetrate it more, and you're noticing that, hey, like all of my dollars are going somewhere else. Or you can also make sure that you're, the states that you do want the most impressions, that you are getting them. And if not, then you could say, you know what, let me remove Texas from my targeting, because it's taking away from Florida and New York, and I really want to advertise there. And this is just an example. I'm sure that your regions may be smaller, because again, you don't want your audience to be too big but not too small, especially if you're only running, let's say, like 4 ads at a time. So what other metrics are fun? So let's take region out. You can also do demographics like age and gender. So sometimes that's helpful to also just for your own marketing, right? To get an idea of what demographics are most engaged with your ads and which demographics are highest converting. So in this example, it was 35 to 44, right? Was the age demographic, and mostly women. And then in terms of metrics, at the ad set level, I think we reviewed this already, but again, you can also look at these different dimensions like age, gender, region. Now, placement is another one that I do like to look at. So this tells you where the majority of your impressions are going to. So what placements. So remember when you were setting up your campaign, I was like, just leave it on everything, because a lot of times some of these other smaller placements, you don't get a lot of impressions on them anyways. And it does help Meta optimize your campaigns better. I like to look at placement at the campaign level to get a better like aggregate view. oops. So in this case, I want campaign to be first. So I'm going to unselect placement if it lets me, and then go back to campaign. There we go. So this tells me, okay, the majority, which is usually the case, right? The majority of your ads are going to be seen on the feeds and the stories. So in this case, feed is Facebook feed, and then they put Instagram as Instagram, the explore page, profile feed. So it gives you an idea, again, of all the different placements and where your ads are getting the most views, and then also where your ads are converting, right? So feed and Instagram stories. So later down the line, where this becomes helpful is if I see that my campaign is spending, not a lot in feeds for whatever reason, then I can update my placements to only show my ads at the ad set level, right? You click manual placements, and then you would click just the feeds and the stories, and maybe you would remove like the audience network and messenger if it was spending a lot. Okay, so that's how you use this report. And then there's also Ad Creative, which gives you a view of what the creative is. So that's helpful sometimes when, again, you want to get a sense of, okay, what ad was this? And then get a sense of what worked and what didn't work. And then lastly, in terms of the ad name, there are additional metrics that sometimes pull up. But if you're running video ads, for example, and you kind of want to get more understanding on, in this case, I didn't have any videos, but you want to get a better sense of what ads are being watched. I think it's called, there is definitely a metric called watch time. And there we go. No. I don't know why it was not pulling up. So you could do, you want to know, okay, 3-second video plays. Video plays at 25%, so that means they played 25% of your video. You could do 50%. I like to do video average play time. And then if I see that, hey, my video is 40 seconds long, but people are really only watching 20 seconds of it, maybe I want to cut it down at that point. Video plays. So those are helpful to make ad optimizations, right? You can also look at engagement metrics for your ads. So post comments, post engagements. The higher the engagement, so that means people liking it, saving it, sharing it, things like that. That usually helps the AI algorithm to show your ads to more people who are going to engage with it and make a purchase. And it's just a nice to know. It doesn't really, at the end of the day, even if an ad has a really high engagement, but it's not converting into leads or sales, then I don't really care. But it's a nice to know. So these are all the metrics, and that is basically it. Now, another thing that I want to show you is you can also turn your data into trend graphs. You can turn it into bar graphs. Then when you're done with the template, you can save it. And you can go back to it, and I'll show you in a second. You can also share this with any team members, export the report. And the way that you can go back to it is by going to your settings and then go into, where is it? Reporting. Into ads reporting. Okay, and then it's gonna bring you here, and then you just click on your report and you can start looking at it right away, so you don't have to always reset all of your columns and things like that. So it makes it a lot simpler.